Hello, friends. Welcome back to The Author Spotlight. I'm your host, Michael D. Butler, Beyond Publishing, and I'm right here at the corporate office in Frisco, Texas. Joining me halfway around the world, I think about 3,500 or 5,000 miles away in Pretoria, South Africa. I was blessed to make the 19-hour flight last February. We were launching a book there, and this gentleman picked me up at the airport. He's been in banking for years, I think 30 years. He's been a leader in his field as an entrepreneur, a business leader, a coach, as a family man, as an author, and a speaker. In fact, his first two books, Better Direction and Wisdom Wealth, we'll hear a little bit about those. And then he's got a new book that he's launching. But he's very excited about some things he learned in his career, that words have power. And you can choose your destiny. No matter what hand you've been dealt in life, you can take control of your future with better direction and with wisdom. Please put your hands together and help me welcome, all the way from Pretoria, South Africa, Mr. Rudi. How are you today, Mr. Rudi? Good to see you, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Michael. Yes, as you say, February last year, I had the privilege to pick you up at the airport here in Our Tambo, and we've spent some time together. So it was a fantastic experience for me to meet you in person. And Beyond Publishing have been a fantastic partner for me in taking my message to the world.
You know, it's been a lot of fun working with you, and that was my first time to drive into or fly into South Africa, and some of your family and friends and fans are commenting and saying hello. So for those of you that are watching on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, we appreciate all those comments. And Mr. Rudi, give me a hand with your last name. How do I pronounce your last name?
It's Geldenhuys, but for the Americans that is a bit difficult, so you can just say, people at work call me Mr. G, but you could just say Rudi.
Well, it's really fun getting to know you and meeting your family in South Africa. And the beautiful thing is, I know it's wintertime there. It's very cold for you guys outside, as here in the States and Europe and parts of the world. We're going into summertime. I know you guys are really locked down tight with COVID-19. What have you learned through this pandemic? How are you adjusting yourselves as a business leader? I know you're very diverse and innovative, but what changes have you made, if any?
Well, I think the two main things, Michael, a lot of people see COVID as negative, where I see it as positive from a human perspective point of view. I've been the last 3 months privileged to work from home. So where at work, if I went to one of my colleagues and I had a cup of coffee, I can do it at home with my wife or with one of my kids bringing me hot chocolate or Milo. So spending quality time away from work during working hours, but with the people closest to you. So that has been a great sort of personal investment for me. And then secondly, from a business point of view and COVID, we have to think fast on our feet. And I was a week and a half back. You also know Billy, which is also one of your authors. I was on a webinar with him talking a bit about innovation. And I think, it is the best time when there's a crisis to actually stand still and ask yourself, how can we do things different and better? So I've enjoyed this time, to think different about the world. And also, as I alluded to earlier, I'm currently busy with studies at INSEAD, the Business School of the World, doing a course on innovation. Innovation in the age of disruption, it couldn't have come at a better time. And, I can just tell you one thing. It's all about the job to be done. And if you understand the job to be done, whether it's COVID, no COVID, doesn't matter. You will end up being successful.
Well, you bring up a great point right there. You focused on the positive and not the negative. It gave you more family time. Because I know in South Africa, speaking with Dr. Catherine, one of our other authors, and seeing the news, you guys are really they're being very strict, right, on your
Yes.
comings and goings and things like that, even firing rubber bullets and different things. How have you managed to maintain independence? Because some people get really depressed. I know in London, for example, they were locked down very tight and they were arresting people. In California, the governor said, if you go into the beach, if you go into the water, we're going to arrest you. How do you maintain that personal freedom and sovereignty, even though, because South Africa's had years of, political turmoil and things, and you actually grew up there. How do you, you have a flourishing family. How do you maintain this mindset of positivity? And you write about it in your books.
Yeah, Michael, I think the one interesting thing for me was, especially in the beginning, when we had level 5 and could go absolutely nowhere, we did things like playing marbles. Me and my wife and the kids started playing marbles, and we played games and stuff. So, when you have free time and you just invest your time better, you understand your family better. And again, it's all about your approach in life. You can look at a glass half empty or half full. Now, for one is negative, for one is positive. So we have really utilized this time to actually spend a bit more quality family time together. And then also, we, as you know, when you were here, I've got 3 dogs. Usually they were outside the house, but the 2 smaller ones during COVID have all of a sudden almost become house dogs. So, for them, COVID was a fantastic experience. So I think, staying
That's awesome.
From a sane point of view is you choose your own destiny, Michael. Whether you're at home, whether you're outside, you must make it work for yourself.
Well, I love that attitude. And, I know you're a top official at the top bank in South Africa. Being in that bank for so many years, and I applaud you now, because even though you don't need any more schooling, obviously, but you are bettering yourself. You're always educating yourself. You're taking courses. And what would you say to someone that maybe they're here in the States and they're caught up in this racial injustice thing, and they just feel there's a sense in their heart that they've been wronged? And so they're out here, they're looting, they're starting fires, they're breaking into stores, and what would you say there? How could somebody like that really,
Yes.
make a change?
Yeah. So Michael, the one thing is, there's a universal truth for every single person on planet Earth. All of us has got a thought process, a mind, and a consciousness factor. And I always explain this in types of a movie. Your thought process is your script. What's the script you write for yourself? And then the projector of a movie, it is sort of your mind which projects to the world what you're thinking, your script. And then the screen of a movie reflects back to yourself the movie you have written. So if you don't like a movie, then it's because the script was poor. Now, for you yourself, and that is for every single person in life, that is a fact. You have to write your own script. And that, for me, whether you in South Africa, whether you in Argentina, Brazil, it doesn't matter where you are, whether you are in Texas. At the end of the day, the script you write in your mind, that is why I say, choose your destiny. And it is all in the script you write. So for me, I really want people to sit down and think, if I'm happy at the moment, where does everything in life start? It starts with a thought. Whether you write a book, whether you meet people, it starts with a thought. And you must just take that thought and make it your own destiny.
Well, that's very powerful, and you certainly have done that. And what type of legacy? I know legacy is important to you. You've got kids, and you'll have grandkids and things like that. It looks like you have a real long-term strategy and plan. What do you hope your kids and grandkids, what do you hope to leave behind to them, not just inheritance-wise or monetarily? What's the big takeaway from Grandpa Rudi that you want them to remember most about you?
Well, there's 2 things, Michael. The one thing is, in the game of life, there's life after this game of life. There's eternal life. And that should be your primary focus. And
yeah, I know you're a person of faith, and you talk a lot about faith in your book. And in fact, I'm going to be asking you a minute about your 3rd book. And you broke up there a little bit because you're 19 hours away via plane. Some people can't handle driving in a car 19 hours, but you're actually on the other side of the world. and it's actually very cold there in South Africa. Now, I was speaking with Dr. Catherine and Billy the other day that if the book show is still going to happen in Johannesburg in September, we're going to be there. And so word is still out whether or not that's going to happen. But give us a little insight into Better Direction and Wisdom Wealth. What are in those books? What are you most excited about that's in those books? And then give us a little sneak on what you've got coming in the new book.
So Better Direction is a discipleship book for me, which I've taken all my business acumen over the years, as well as in 2012, I was at the University of Stellenbosch doing an executive development program. So I've taken all that business acumen and explained the Bible in terms of, vision, mission, operational risk, strategic management. So it's a book for entrepreneurs, but also it's a personal book for yourself. Leadership and everything is in there. And then Wisdom Wealth is a book about the book Proverbs in the Bible. So all 950 scriptures of the book Proverbs are in Wisdom Wealth, and I've written a personal reflection on every single scripture for myself. But then what's interesting about Wisdom Wealth is I offer the reader to actually reflect what the scripture means for him or herself as well. So it's like a notebook in a book, so that people can write a reflective note about what they've read. And then, under new management, which is the book which is currently.
Tell us about that. I'm very excited about the new book, Under New Management.
Yes. So that book is all about, I'm going to the index is about a menu. There's a starter. It's a 5-course meal. So it's also about, if you give your life to the Lord, how must you act under new management? So the starter is giving your life to the Lord, and then fish will be, spreading the word, and then the main course is your time. So I don't want to give away a lot now, but I've written it in terms of a menu. If you sit at a restaurant, the book is written in that fashion, being creative. I'm trying to do things a bit different.
Well, we're very excited because, a lot of times in the States, somebody, maybe they're a Christian or a believer, and but on their job, they're working their job and they don't really incorporate the two together. But in your book, you've got your MBA, you've got your higher degrees, but you're also a person of faith. And I love how you create this parallel that they're not dichotomies to one another. They don't compete or conflict, but you actually make them beautiful and you lay them out peacefully together to show people how they can excel at work in their faith together, not divorcing one from the other. What do you like to speak about? I know you love to speak and you're part of the Global Elite Speakers Bureau. When you go out and speak or do a workshop, what are some of your main topics when you speak from stage for companies?
So in essence, I've got 4 topics. Innovation is definitely, very close to my heart. And then leadership, I've built a leadership brand and a whole personal leadership brand, and I teach people how to do it themselves. And then, if I combine the two, you get to optimization. I believe that a combination between innovation and leadership, makes a business grow your bottom line. And then the last one, I call it hunting the earliest point of compromise. It's my 22 years in operational risk management. And I believe that any situation, if you want to mitigate risk, is about hunting the earliest point of compromise. And usually that comes back to a human being. In my definition of operational risk, it is risk because of human failure. So those are the 4 topics which I help people with. Even if I help them as a coach and a mentor, I use Better Direction sort of as the basis. But then, I always try and teach them how to be more innovative, because that at the end of the day change the world.
I just love your positivity. I love, and I loved meeting your kids and your family because in your wife today, because, you're the whole package, and some people go out and travel the world and speak and, they don't look forward to getting home. And so it's really, I've got a question though around this COVID, being in the bank and being in risk management and everybody working from home, because recently I opened my nonprofit checking account for our nonprofit, and I made an appointment and they said you're gonna have to go through the drive-through. And it took a little bit doing all the paperwork through the drive-through banking lane. There's like 30 cars backed up behind me. I felt kind of bad. Some of them were even honking, but they got the nonprofit set up. People working from home with sensitive data. Has this been a big headache for banks and your bank in general and banks overall?
Well, not really, Michael, because you're still on a bank network. So they put some let's call it spyware, for a lack of a better word. It is part of your computer, and you go through a particular domain. So from a data point of view, it's not really that big of a challenge. But what is interesting, I mean, we had last week, Friday actually, we had the top leadership sort of webinar, or not webinar, Zoom meeting. And it's interesting, but a lot of the senior managers actually have conveyed that because of COVID, productivity is up, because a lot of people, tend to, when they go and have a coffee with somebody or have a smoke break at work, that sometimes 10 minutes become 50 minutes. Now it stays 10 minutes. So actually, productivity is up. So from that point of view, it's not a big challenge. And then we have been very proactive from our bank point of view. We've been very proactive. I have, for instance, I've got a third of my staff enabled to work from home. And the other 2/3, we've split into 4 buildings. So if people do get sick, that operations can still run. So we've been very proactive from a COVID point of view.
Well, that's very exciting. It's very encouraging. I'm wondering, because I deal with 2 different banks here in the States, and it seems like they are delaying opening, even though much of Texas is open and a lot of the restaurants are open. I mean, I'm wondering, because even Bank of America, I was noticing they're downsizing their people. There's fewer employees in there. Everything's more automated, and it looks like they're going more toward virtual tellers and monitors and touch screens, where I don't know, maybe from a profitability standpoint, they're realizing they can get by with fewer people. I'm not trying to turn this into a banking seminar, but I love it when somebody with your expertise is on the show, because we can ask some of these questions. What are your thoughts? What's the future of banking? Will we get to talk to our banker again?
Well, Michael, it's an interesting. I don't just think it's particular only to banks. I actually believe the whole world, because of this whole new concept. I don't know if you've realized in the English dictionary, but actually have now listed, social distancing is a new word with meaning. So because of social distancing, I believe that most organizations which had face-to-face interactions with their customers are going to turn to a more digital world. Now, whether that means, less staff and more automation, and whether that means, that we're going to have more people working from home, only future will tell us where we will go. But I think a lot of organizations are starting to realize that instead of having 3, 4 to 5 sets of buildings which cost them a pile of money to maintain, if a lot of people can work from home and do what they do. So my question always is, why does somebody have to go and sit in an office if he or she can do exactly the same job from home? You spend actually that person, you actually give him something in return. You give him time, which is our most precious commodity. You don't have to sit in traffic. For me, I work in Midrand, Joburg, every day just to work and back on a normal day, it's 3 hours on the road. All of a sudden, I've got 3 hours more. So I don't think
3 hours with your family on top of that, which is so beautiful.
Family. Yes, and I don't think it's just a bank-specific thing, but I do think in the new COVID world, because of social distancing, we will see more and more digital, even in the speaking world. We're going to do things more digital. What I do feel is for tourism, and people like having airlines, because they're going to struggle. I mean, I think more than half of them, are not going to make it, because, it's going to be a very long time before traveling and tourism is going to be where it was.
Well, let me ask you a question off the record here about just investing in South Africa. What would you say? Because I have a lot of American friends, European friends that are saying real estate in South Africa is going to be a good investment for business and for residential homes as well. What do you think?
So I think, there's two things in South Africa which is always worthwhile investing in. Gold is definitely, one of those commodities, if you think about mines and all of that. But then also, currently with it is a very good time to actually buy property where, all the interest rates are quite low. For a very long time, our interest rates were 3-4 times what it was in the States. And currently, it's very low. So
how's the rand trading right now, by the way?
Yeah, well, not great. I think last when I looked, it's about between 17 and 18 rand. So
I just want to say I'm glad it was you picking me up at the airport, because you get this big stack of rand. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, you'll change a $100 bill and you get this big stack of rand. It's like 40,000 rand, and you feel really rich. But then you realize you're not that rich.
But no, it's very, very true.
The people of South Africa are just so open and warm and beautiful. We went there to launch a book. 2,000 women showed up at the book launch for Dr. Catherine's book that she was a part of. And that was on a Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m. So I want to talk about, Rudi, what's the best way for people to find you, for people to order the books? I know the books are on Amazon. They're on your website here at betterdirection.co.za. That's for South Africa. So what's the best way for people to reach out to you, though, and stay in touch with you?
Well, the best way is to go to the website. There is a link to contact me on the homepage, as well as there's a contact me or contact us drop down. And basically the email is there, and my telephone number. From a South African point of view, if you're not in South Africa, just do a +27 in front and drop the 0. But the email, it's easy. You send me an email, it's always with me. And and then we can take it from there. So that's the easiest way of getting in touch with me.
Outstanding. Well, I tell you what, it's really refreshing to reconnect with you, because I know when we first launched you, we talked almost every day. Very excited about the new book. Give us a little glimpse of what's in the new book and when can we expect it to come out?
Well, Michael, with all the studies I'm doing currently, because I'm also going to do an IMD, in Lausanne, Switzerland. I'm going to do an online course there, and I'm busy with Dr. Gustav Gous, a couple of studies there. I doubt that the book will be finished before the end of this year, maybe early next year. And as I say, under new management, in the front of the book, it's about people are hungry, what is on your menu? And it's, again, it's all this personal. What can you give to somebody else in the world? I always say, what is your investment you're going to make into somebody else's life? It's better to give than to receive. And I think, as human beings, we always want to receive rather than giving. But if you start giving to people, so you have to ask yourself, people are hungry. And that hungry doesn't mean just food. They're hungry for emotional benefit, for emotional help. They need social help, and what are you going to give him? So that's what the book is all about.
Well, it's very powerful. It's a powerful principle that you live by, that principle of giving and receiving and sowing and reaping. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. It's almost 11 o'clock in South Africa, in Pretoria, where you are, just outside of Johannesburg. You're always a breath of fresh air, Rudi. And so plug into Rudi on social media, follow him on his website. You're doing so many amazing things. And I know it's cold there. You got your sweater on, you're sitting by the fire. And for those that haven't traveled to the Southern Hemisphere, it's amazing to do. So we'll keep up with our authors. If they have the book show, we're going to be there in September. What's the weather going to be like in September when we come see you, Rudi?
No, that's springtime, and usually, springtime, it's very nice weather, 25 to 30 degrees, not your 33 degrees that you currently have in Texas, but, much warmer.
Yeah, 33 Celsius is like 90 degrees Fahrenheit, guys, for those of you that may not know. And yeah, it's beautiful. I came last time in February. I guess that means it was kind of getting into it was coming off of summer and into autumn. I remember
Yes.
it was hot there. I got a nice sunburn. It just felt good because I left the snow and cold of the U.S., and it was just nice to be in the heat and soak it up. But Rudi, say hello to the family, and kudos on the studies. Thanks so much for the interview here. It's been a blessing to have you on the Author Spotlight. And if you've got an amazing story, go ahead and share it with us on beyondpublishing.net/submit. We're looking for books. We're looking for books in genres of faith, personal development, parenting, relationships, wellness, and business. So if you've got a book, go ahead and submit it. And we want to speak with you this week. And hey, wishing you to be safe, Rudi, in this COVID times, and wishing you and your family the best. So thanks for joining us on the Author Spotlight, and catch us next Sunday where we interview another amazing author from around the globe. Thanks, Rudi. Have a great day.
Thanks to you as well. Stay well, everyone. Bye-bye.